This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Legend, that is Ira Winderman. How are you doing, sir? Good morning.
I'm doing good, but those little bit of coins you've been paying me in say good for one use in batting cage. So I don't think I want those kind of coins. I think I'll take something a little more substantial.
Okay, I'm just saying, if we gave it to you in Ethereum, it's going to end up being 10 times what we gave you eventually. But, that's all right. That's fine. Eventually, you will catch on like everybody else, and they'll figure it out, and they'll go, hey, yeah, this crypto thing actually is real, and so, it's coming. It's coming. It's just one of those things. You don't believe that it will be mass adoption, by the way?
Oh, I do, but I believe what you said before we came on, as far as regulation, when it gets to that level, that, hey, I have an issue, I can take it to point A, point B, point C.
Amen.
That makes a difference.
Exactly. It makes all the difference. That's why, some crypto guys have told me, oh, I don't like this. I go, dude, this is great. This actually helps legitimize it even more. And the average person now will trust it even more. And it's regulated. Things have to, you have to have independent people overseeing these kind of things. And so I think it's incredibly an enormous move for crypto overall. Listen, you see it all over the place. This isn't a joke. I mean, the amount of sponsorships and everything that's going on, that this cannot be a fly-by-night thing when you're seeing the development of what's going on with crypto. That's the thing that really stands out, right? Look at the arena you walk in every day. I mean, to be able to do the FTX arena or crypto.com over in LA, that's some enormous money that's involved in all of that. So, no Heat players get paid in crypto?
Not that I know of. I'm sure there's plenty of speculative agents out there who are trying to get them involved, so it'll be interesting.
I don't think it hasn't happened in the NBA yet, right? Because
there's not
NFL
as far
has
as I know. But again, I think they're taking also a measured approach, get the sponsorships in place, get the regulation in place, move forward from there.
Yeah. The NFL does. They have some players that have been paid in crypto, and obviously UFC and some other ones. But yeah, no, I haven't seen that yet in the NBA. All right, Ira, we've been able to sit back and digest after a couple days that The Godfather came out and laid the law down. Duncan Robinson, I thought, had an incredibly professional response.
Mm-hmm.
To his situation, as you would expect Duncan Robinson to be incredibly mature in the way he's handled this adversity. He's handled it better than most people, actually. Not his play. It hasn't gotten to the point where he needs to handle it there, but I will say he's handled it as a person. When we start to look at some of these pieces, is Duncan Robinson one that you think returns to the Miami Heat in the 2022-2023 season?
I do not. And I actually am going to spell this out in my Sunday column at the Sun Sentinel. It'll be posted tomorrow at sunsentinel.com. Duncan is the only contract in the trade sweet spot. Matter of fact, on the Heat's booked for next season, there is Tyler Hero at about $5.7 million. And then there is Kyle Lowry at $28 million. And Duncan's $18 million contract is the only contract in between. So if Pat Riley wants to be a player on the trade market, if Pat Riley wants to do the matching salaries thing that you have to do, you have to put someone in play. And again, I know when this contract came out, you were one of the initial people, oh my God, what are they thinking? And then as we did our Acura Pembroke Pines reports over the months, I explained to you, sometimes you create contracts for the simple meaning and reason of being able to make them tradable. Remember, they brought back Myers Leonard one year at a guaranteed contract, and everyone's like, what the hell are they thinking? They used it the next trading deadline to get Trevor Ariza for better or worse.
Yeah.
Last June, we were in a position where, wait a minute, they're giving another $20 million to Goran Dragic. What the hell are they thinking? What they were thinking was this is going to balance the Precious Achiuwa trade for Kyle Lowry. So yes, there are sometimes people in the middle who get oodles of money just for being there so they can make trades. I think that's what happened to Duncan. I think Andy Ellisberg and Pat Riley and Nick Harrison all sat together and said, you know what? If we want to make a deal next summer, do we have the assets if we're not trading Jimmy, if we're not trading Bam, if we're not trading Kyle? What are we going to do to create an asset? So Duncan was the lottery winner. Duncan Lottery basically scratched the right ticket. So yes, you could say Duncan Robinson is handling this well. Oh, most people with $90 million over 5 years handle things very well. It's been proven over the
Yeah.
years.
Nah, I don't know. Dion Waiters even getting paid would
He
probably
wasn't a $90 million player. No.
no,
You're talking about
if
a
you
different
gave him
level.
90 million, he would be a knucklehead in the situation. Is all I'm saying.
Yes, but he also would have a different tradable contract and would be in a different place. That's the difference. I think Duncan can handle this well because he had his payday. And it's arguable, but I think it's probably true. That's Duncan's only NBA payday. His timing was perfect. Right person, right place, right time. He got his money. But if Pat Riley makes a deal, matter of fact, I can't find a way that he can make a trade this summer unless Duncan's included. Because again,
Oh, yeah.
number one, Tyler only goes out at about 5.7 million. If Tyler extends before the start of the season, he becomes untradeable. Can't be traded by poison pill rule during 22-23. So it sounds like, matter of fact, I'm going to ask you this. Contract plus person, who is tradable on the Heat? In other words, I don't think there is another component other than Tyler for skill and Duncan for salary.
Yeah, no. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. That's it. Because then you'd have to give up some of the young guys, but those things
And the
don't
young
mean
guys
a lot
only
to
make $2 million
yeah, they have
each.
no money,
And you
yeah.
can only stack enough $2 million contracts to get to that 30 million. I mean, right now, John Collins is the hot name out there. We know he likes the Heat. He would be a terrific stretchability, sort of playing alongside Bam Adebayo. But to get something, you have to deal something. So
Yeah.
the Heat's best offer to Atlanta would be, okay, you guys struggled with your bench scoring last season. Here's the NBA sixth man of the year. Okay, you guys struggle with your outside shooting and spacing the floor with Gallinari and some of your other guys. Here's Duncan Robinson. He can certainly play off the drive and kick of Trae Young. We have a package for you. So again, it's those two. You know, so many people like sort of get on me and get on the people who have to do this for a living as saying it's personal. Why are you being so hard on Tyler Hero? Why are you being so negative with Duncan Robinson? It's also the reality. When you get it, look, most of us work in real life. You're not getting traded from IBM or crypto.com for the next best accountant. You have a stability in life. When you get to pro sports, this is all part of it.
Yes.
Great players have been traded. Not because they're bad people, not because they're bad players, but because that's the life that these guys choose in baseball and hockey and football and basketball. I mean, human beings being traded is kind of weird. And you don't have that in soccer. In soccer, your team has to get what they want for the player, but the player also has to approve the transaction to get the contract he wants. It's a little more realistic to the business model. In U.S. sport, it's not that way. Human beings get traded. So I think all summer, this is going to be the summer of Tyler. This is going to be the summer of Duncan through no fault of their own, just for the matter that one has the contract and one has the ability if the Heat make that scale of move.
By the way, humans get traded. Didn't Katya Elise Henry traded away Tyler Hero now?
You know what? It's funny. It's two places you always try to drag me. One place is the crypto world, or at least there's some legitimacy. One place is the social media world, where I've got to tell you, if every time a player or his plus one posted something cryptic and I had to follow it like that, oh, what does she mean by this? What does he mean by this? She cleaned him off of her social media. He's talking about being too public and not being able to live his life. My God, I would have nothing but Heat stories off the court if I went there. So I'm not going to.
But he's really the only one tied to an IG mod. I mean, the girl is out there talking about how small his manhood is and all that. Like, I mean, she's out there, dude. Like, she is hammering him now.
And that's why you have to be careful the direction you go. And when you go in that direction, and Kyle Kuzma was involved before also, same situation, getting the same kind of feedback. You know, if you're not careful in that realm, then it all comes flooding back on you and you want to be part of that. I remember when he was in the bubble and Rachel Nichols was talking to Tyler Hero about his unbelievable Instagram following. And I'm like, that's not his. That's because he's dating an Instagram personality and it's all ancillary and it becomes yours. So if you embrace that part of it, you have to live with that part of it. Plenty of NBA players go out. They want to be on the dating scene. They want to be seen with someone. Tristan Thompson, when it comes to that situation, we've seen plenty of people involved with the Kardashians. Lamar Odom, you get involved in that, that becomes part of it. But the one thing I've always tried to do, it's about basketball, except Big O for this. If it impacts their play, That did not impact Tyler Hero's play. His groin did. Now, I know where you're going to go with that, but that was a groin injury he had, a sports injury. So you go with that. But if I do see that it impacts a player's play, that he's exhausted, that there's other stuff going on, that his head's not in the game, then I will delve into it. Thankfully, the Heat are done. This is June. I can wait to see how this all plays out. And I'll leave that to the weekly, I'm sure soon to be sponsored, Big O Gossip Report at 11:10 in the morning every Wednesday.
Yeah, you know what? We need a sports gossip insider on the show.
Yeah, come on, Big O. If you can get Harvey Levin and the right auto dealership, I fully expect that to join your list of stars.
You know what? That's a great idea. I don't even know. Do we have a sports gossip insider in South Florida? There's no such thing,
first of all,
right?
remember for years you had Jose Lambiat, who was all over the place. So
he was great.
Madeline Marr from the Herald does those kind of things throughout the entertainment world. So I bet you if you wanted to dig into your gossip report, you could be there. And the one thing I will say about this, and I'm being serious about this now, Big O, because you're no longer under the realm of the broadcast stations that also have media rights, you don't have to do the old, this, I've been on the show with you. You'd want a certain guest. No. He's persona non grata with the Dolphins or the Panthers or the Heat. Now you can just grab whoever the hell you want.
Oh, yeah. There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt about it. Now, have you heard anything on the Heat side that they're a little concerned about the whole Tyler IG model?
The Miami Heat have an entire player sort of, I don't want to say protection team, but you've seen this with the Dolphins also. There are plenty of people. They are combing every player's social media. They are noticing everything. They are listening to Duncan Robinson's podcast for little subtle things maybe they think shouldn't get out. They see, they hear everything. Big fans of the Big O Show. They're monitoring everything. They have a security department taking care of everything, that if a player's name shows up in a police report or someone calls in, you know this for years, Stu Weinstein with the Dolphins, they were always out in front of stuff. So there is an entire sort of shadow culture with all these teams looking out for that. The little things, I don't mean that because of that, the little things don't become the big things, and they take care of it. So you can darn well bet whatever is going on with Tyler now is being very monitored by the Heat, because in these times, Big O, you have to do that as well.
Oh, hell, we still don't know what Willie Green was high on in that hotel lobby. Nobody's none of you have been able to unearth that story ever again.
No, and you know that the team came out and said it was dehydration. And I'm like, what the hell kind of dehydration was that? But you go through that also. But they're keeping an eye and they are monitoring everything.
They're
and look,
good.
They have all their police contacts. They try to keep stuff off the police blotter. But you know what? Then you get a team that does stuff in an interview and ask a draft prospect about whether his mother is this or that, and that stuff gets out. They know about the fallout, Big O. These teams tread very, very carefully on social media. And don't kid yourself. If teams could, they would demand their players not be on social media. But just like crypto, that ship has sailed. We're in a social media world. We're in a crypto world. You have to deal with what's there in front of you now. You can't be too old school because the schooling has changed.
All right, so I was hoping that Wade would be the double agent for us to bring Donovan Mitchell here. What the hell is he doing? He's doing double agent stuff to take Chris Quinn away from us? What's up with that, man?
You know
what's
what?
the word?
It's actually, I'm glad you brought that up. That's actually good double agenting, and I'll tell you what. A lot of times a coach needs to get mentioned in coaching searches for his name to be out there. So a matter of fact, Big O, I'm going to go the other way. I think Dwayne Wade did Chris Quinn a huge favor.
I'm having fun with that. I'm just having fun.
Exactly, but I'm saying, but I think there's a modicum of truth there. Can we please bring Chris Quinn in? We'll leak it out to Woj. We'll get it out there and let people know that Chris Quinn is a viable coaching candidate. He did that for years with Juwan Howard. Go to New York, talk to everyone, get your name out there. And then when a Michigan job is available, instead of the Michigan boosters going, well, who is this guy? You can say, well, he was the candidate for Nick's job. He was the candidate for Lakers job. You get names out there. What Dwayne Wade did for Chris Quinn, and maybe even going to do for Caron Butler, is a really good thing. You need to get your names out there. David Fizdale had to get his name out there 3, 4, 5 times before he began his trek to the Grizzlies, to the Knicks as a Lakers assistant. So no, I think Dwayne Wade is still working for the home team. And I think he did Chris Quinn a real solid by getting him on that name list of probably like 50 candidates for the Jazz. They're going to take all the time in the world. Now, whether Danny Ainge signs someone with Miami Heat culture flowing through their blood, that's when it'll get interesting, when they hire that Quinn Snyder replacement as coach with the Utah Jazz.
And by the way, I'm only busting balls because the beauty of Spo is Spo ain't no flow. Spo can build and rebuild staffs. He ain't no Flow. Flow can build a staff, but Spo, he's already turned over his staff a couple times.
And he's built a coaching tree. You know, the thing is, you build a coaching tree. You start a coaching tree from Pat Riley, of course, who's had all his disciples, Jeff Van Gundy out there, Stan Van Gundy. And now we're seeing the second generation, sort of like we're seeing with Mike Budenholzer, who, of course, is a protege of Greg Popovich. That's what culture is about. That's what's taking the Pat Riley lineage and making it an Eric Spoelstra lineage and passing it down. And you know what, Big O? That's why people will want to work for you. That's why Malik Allen says, I'm leaving the Timberwolves. I'm going to the Miami Heat. They develop. They will give someone a chance. That's why Chris Quinn leaves Northwestern after he was working there in their basketball department and says, I want to be with this guy. That's why Kasib Powell right now is working the Sioux Falls Skyforce and will be with the Heat in Summer League. They know you want to attach yourself to the great ones. Eric Spoelstra has done very right by his assistant coaches over the years, and we can see that, how they're branching out. Dan Craig thriving as defensive coordinator with the Clippers. His trade, Pat Delaney, I believe now latest over in Washington, working there. His assistants have become widely respected.
Kasib Powell, baby, a summer league superstar. Yeah, baby. All right. All right, so big fish. We gotta close it out with this. Mitchell, what's if there's a horse race? Like, what are the odds? Who's the free agent odd favorite that will cross the finish line and be traded to the Miami Heat?
If I'm a sports book, I have Donovan Mitchell sort of off the books because I got to see who the new coach is. And then you got to see if it's a Donovan Mitchell coach or it's a coach who coaches a different style, maybe caters to a Rudy Gobert, or maybe it's a coach who steps in and says, you know what? I'm fine with rebuilding. You guys have not made that breakthrough. Let's rip the whole damn thing apart. That's going to change the equation there also. So I think you have to wait on that to see how they approach that, how they take care of that in Utah before Donovan Mitchell. I do think a really good name, and I mentioned it here at the top of our Acura Pembroke Pines report, and I got a feeling we'll talk about it next week. John Collins, very intriguing because, I think the Heat are close enough that you're trying to find pieces that fit right now. That'd be a really good fit for this team. Again, if PJ Tucker opts out, there is not a single power forward on the Heat roster right now. So it makes sense. So I love the pie in the sky, the Lillards and the Beals and the Mitchells, but I also like fits. And I think John Collins could be a fit. And when you have a potential fit out there, I think that's when you go into overdrive to see if you can make it work.
Okay, so I got to follow up with this.
Sure.
What makes you think they're going to trade him and that could work?
I think they could trade him because he clearly has been disgruntled being the second fiddle to Trae Young in a single player centric offense. The one thing we know about the Heat, everyone eats. You always hear that expression. Everyone gets the ball. They move the ball. No one wants to be a 28-point-a-game scorer. Jimmy doesn't even want to score. Kyle last season didn't score. That's how Tyler Hero made his breakthrough. Hell, I just posted at the Sun Sentinel and sunsentinel.com. Bam Adebayo scoring. We're still looking for it. So if you're a guy who wants to come in and sort of make your name on offense, it might be the perfect place. Here's my only question with that is this. He was the second fiddle to Trae Young, and clearly there have been issues there in Atlanta. Could he deal being the second fiddle to Jimmy Butler? It's a different kind of second fiddle because it's a pass-first kind of guy. Exactly. I think he could. That's the whole thing. But you know what? In this ego-driven NBA world, or does he just want to be the guy somewhere? Does he want to go to Indiana or Sacramento and this is my team? Some guys want that.
Yeah, I don't get that feeling from that kid. I think he wants to be a part of a winning organization and obviously be a part of that. And I think he would be. And just to follow up on this,
sure.
In your press conference with Riley, and I think it was you and maybe it might have been Barry or somebody else mentioned about Bam playing with another big.
I asked about that.
Right. It'll never work out on this team because they don't have that other big that can really shoot. Well, guess what?
Yes.
John Collins can shoot. He would be the perfect 4 next to Bam because his ass can be on the 3-point line. And now if you can, it looked to me like Riley is going to put the full court press on PJ and saying, I got to keep you here. That would be an amazing rotation if you can have Tucker and Collins. That would be
because then, you know what? Defensive situations, you throw Tucker out there. Offensive situations, you throw Collins out there. You save the 37-year-old legs of PJ Tucker. It might come at a cost, but again, the cost would be Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, probably one of your young players, maybe a Yurtseven, unfortunately, and maybe a draft choice, but you can make a package. The whole thing there is, Big O, it's the same division. Does the team want to trade within the division? Do you want to trade within the conference? That's why so much of the John Collins talk is out to Portland, sort of out of sight, out of mind. So we have to see how that plays out also.
A team like Milwaukee uses size on you. You can now counter a little bit more with Collins too at the same time. So there's things you can do with it. Man, John Collins would that would as the late great Mad Dog would say, that would get my toes tingling. John Collins
and a West South Florida kid, so he has roots down here. It'd be a homecoming also.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. Follow him on Twitter at Ira Heatbeat. What are you working on besides that Sunday column, my friend?
I just posted my Bam Adebayo story. 4 years ago, Pat Riley sat at a press conference and said, we've got to have an intervention with Eric Spoelstra. I've got to find a way to make it work with Hassan Whiteside and Bam Adebayo. 4 years later, Pat Riley sits down at his postseason press conference and says, I'm going to talk to Eric about getting Bam more involved in the offense. So we're sort of in the same place with different players, but it's very interesting. Pat Riley steps back 364 days a year. But on the 365th, he sends his messages to Eric Spoelstra. Read the story at sunsentinel.com. It's interesting how we're back here again. This is the one time a year Pat Riley sort of has his intervention. How does Eric Spoelstra approach it next? Does he tell Bam, hey, look at the damn rim instead of another damn pass? It'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Now, the difference is I agree with him on this one. I completely disagreed with him on the other one because he wanted to do something that was unrealistic with a specific human being. Whereas with this human being, you can work with this one because this one is willing to do whatever it takes to make it work. And that's the one thing you love about Bam. Sacrifice is not something you ever are concerned with Bam Adebayo. So.
And as to quote your friend Jim Mandich, and it's not as if Bam's riding around with his windows down going, we got shooters. So yes, different personalities.
No doubt. Ira Heatbeat on Twitter. You got to subscribe to the Sun Sentinel and catch his work every single day. Ira, thank you, my brother. Have a fantastic weekend. It won't be as good as mine here in Flagler Beach, but you have a good weekend, sir.
And we'll talk to you Monday for another Acura Pembroke Pines report. Thanks, Big O.
You got it. There you go. Can't beat it than being out here in Tortugas, baby. Oh, God. What a beautiful day. All right, let's that is Ira Winderman and our Acura Pembroke Pines Miami Heat report.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.